1993, many of you may have seen this picture. I was travelling around the world in my gap year, and everywhere I went, I didn't have any money, and the people I was seeing didn't have any money either, and they all shared stuff, and they all travelled together, and they all seemed to have a lovely time doing it. And I think this picture kind of sums up that if you haven't got much money, you can still do an awful lot of things and trade and live whilst doing things together. But wherever you go, whether it's Africa, South America, even some places in Norfolk, you see people sharing stuff, and it's brilliant. And I think next week, if the fuel crisis does really happen, you might see a lot more of it going on, which would be good for us. 1997, went to Bristol Uni, couldn't afford to get to Bristol Uni, so Mum and Dad took me down there, dropped me off and said, see you at Christmas. Couldn't afford to get home. My budget, I think, was about £20 a week, and I think the train was £120 to get back, so there's no way I could do that. So I set up a notice board in the student union and said, is anyone coming my way? Got a lift with a guy called Joe, and for the last pretty much 12 years, Joe and I have been best mates. We had a fantastic time, and it showed me how much fun you could have sharing cars. That notice board we set up kind of grew. Lots of other people started putting notices up. And then in kind of our second year at university, this wonderful thing called the internet arrived. I didn't really understand what it did or how it worked, but I kind of got the idea that if I could put my notice board somewhere up there in the internet, then maybe other people at other universities could start using Liftshare. So persuaded a friend of mine who, that was basically all I knew about computers. I had one of those things. It was a Dell something or other. It was very big and very heavy and didn't really work, but it kind of showed me what the internet was all about. So I took one of those to a mate of mine, and we realised we had a few challenges. I didn't know how to do any internet stuff. I didn't really know what the internet was. The internet was new. Car sharing was new, so no one had ever done that. There was no way to host a database online in the UK. The only way we could do it was through America or Canada, so we had to overcome that one. Neither of us knew anything about running a business, so we're pretty stuck, but we thought this idea was quite cool, so we thought we'd go for it. And this isn't actually the website he built. He built one that was much worse than this, if you can believe it. This was built by two 16-year-old students from Norwich City College in a couple of weeks for free. And at the time, it was actually quite cool. It was the first online database hosted in Canada for matching people together. It was kind of before any dating agencies or whatever got online. So we did some pretty good stuff, but it did look fairly terrible. But we took this, and we went off, or I went off with gullible friends of mine to universities, and the plan was to charge students £10 to join our Liftshare scheme, and to get 5,000 of them to join, and with £50,000 I was going to get someone who could actually build websites to build me a website. But, as you see from the queues of people in that picture, no one wanted to come. So we then changed the plan to be half price and aim to get twice as many people, but again, still no people. So we thought we'd offer it free. And actually there would be another picture, but unfortunately there were so many people that it wouldn't have been a very good picture. So basically that started working. We had the first Freshers' Fair that it worked was at UEA, and we had about 100 people join up that day, and then off we went around 8 other Freshers' Fairs and got people to join. The most important lessons we were learning was every single person we were talking to was giving us feedback saying why they would or wouldn't use this system. And it highlighted to me it's much more important to get out there and learn from people than spend ages building some kind of kit. So the next thing, once we got free membership, we knew we needed that, we wanted to get a critical mass of members so this scheme actually worked. And the trouble was we didn't have any money. I keep on saying we, basically it was me and some friends of mine who did stuff for free. So what to do? Fortunately, Glastonbury that year had somehow seen one of the Freshers' Fairs we had done and said, could we help people share cars to Glastonbury? And we set them up with a slightly bespoke website to help people get there, and they promoted it to 100,000 festival goers, and we had a few thousand people join up with our scheme, which was hurrah. This works, and it works when you've got a critical mass of people going to a location. So we said, let's do that for other festivals, went off around lots of other festivals that summer, got free tickets to all of them, and it was a brilliant summer, as were the next about 5. So we started realising that community was really important online, and you couldn't just have a website, you needed to get focus groups of people on there. So then we said, having done festivals, how else could we help people? The festivals didn't pay us, but they showed that it would work. So then we started looking and being a bit more strategic and saying, who will get value out of what we do? Local authorities would do, but their budgets were quite tight. Employers, particularly with like big parking issues, we could help them. And schools, we thought would be a good target market with all the people needing to share cars to schools. So now you see we have this new beautiful website that's not that beautiful, but it had business solutions on it. So we suddenly started getting a bit more corporate and realising we needed to make some money. So we put up business solutions and started selling schemes to local authorities and companies, which was great. I'll talk more about that in a minute. So early lessons learned. Design is really important. Design not just of a website, but design of a stand when you're going to Freshers' Fair. The best stand we ever did, we didn't even go to. We basically set the stand up, went off to another Freshers' Fair, but we'd spent so long planning how to set up that stand that we came back and we had lists of people who had all signed up to our scheme because we had thought very carefully about how to make it really easy for them to join. I think we had about 300 people join that day just from just on paper. The value of community, which I've talked about, the potential of social networks. We didn't really realise that Liftshare was a social network at the time, but it was probably one of the first, if not the first in the country. And also the whole benefits of hosting software online. At the time, all software was kind of on CDs and being sent out to people, like AOL CDs and stuff. And we've somehow cottoned on the fact that software was going on to online, and it's now obviously online and in the cloud. And also the importance of doing things with no money. Anyone set up a business, if you've got no money, don't worry about it, because people give you stuff when you've got no money. As soon as you've got money, they charge you for it. So don't worry about not having any money. So 2002, bear in mind we started off in 1998. 2002, first paycheck, so first bit of money comes in 2002. So 3.5 years of basically no money coming in, but a lot of lessons learned. It's like going back to university again. Took on my first employee and moved out of bedroom into a shed, basically. Quite a big shed, but it was an old turkey shed, which was fun. And things started growing. Then kind of fast forward, loads of things happened. And I just had a great quote about Rowan Gormley, because I think he did a talk here. He's a bit of a hero of mine. And he said, oh, bollocks, it's rubbed off my hand. What did you say? What did he say?
Don't believe your own bullshit.
Exactly. So you have a few years, you do really well, you start getting quite caught up in your own, not self-importance, but where you're going. And you go and collect loads of awards, you meet the Queen, you do stuff, and you start getting really distracted and taking your eye off the ball. And I spent a few years probably caught in that whirlwind of heading off in the wrong direction. And more recently, have completely re-strategized and started going out and trying to learn from best in class and realizing we're no longer the best at what we do, and there are some brilliant companies out there growing incredibly fast. People like Airbnb, Naked Wines get on there, IDEO, for all the fantastic design they do, and Zappos over in the States. And there are loads of others, and it's been great to go and see those companies and really learn from them. The team now, there's a kind of picture of the team there, there's about 18 there, and we're growing again quite fast. I think about to take on another 3 or 4 people. But there's been kind of a whole lot of stuff happening over the last 10 years, but kind of fast forward through that. Where are we today? We really want to hit 500,000 people by the end of this month. We're about 2,000 short, but if the fuel crisis happens, maybe we'll hit it over the weekend. There's lots of Twitter stuff going about Liftshare at the moment. But it's kind of been a rocky ride. Every little peak you see is either the last fuel crisis or London bombings. We helped 10,000 people get out of London that day, or basically whenever car sharing gets in the news, it's because of some petrol price hikes or whatever. And right now we're seeing another bit of a spike. So what's our mission? What are we all about? We basically want to ensure that everyone has someone to share a car with. Wherever you are in the UK, you put in your journey, we want to find someone for you. And we're now up to 86% of journeys have at least one match. The average journey has about 36 matches. So if you put your commuting journey in, chances are you'll have 36 journeys going the same way as you, and it's a question of finding the right person at the right time. But we're now up at that kind of level, and we want to get up there up to 100% in the next 2 years. That's in the UK. It does work globally, but it depends on where we're marketing. Why do we do it? When I set Liftshare up, it was mainly to solve my own problem rather than anyone else's. But you soon learn it helps an awful lot of other people, and that's what I've become very passionate about. Yes, it helps people get to employment and leisure and services and things, but it's more about bringing people together. We've had people write in saying, thank you, I've now met my neighbour who I've lived next door to for the last 10 years, and I found them through your website hosted in Canada. It's like, it's nuts. But that's a real plus for what we do, and we've had loads of those stories. They come in every day, and it's fantastic. How far have we got? That's actually just gone up 2,000, so it's 497,000 now. Taken on loads of clients. We've got about 600 corporate clients now who pay us for our schemes. That's where the money comes from, and then we provide free services to individuals. said that we save about 100,000 car trips per day in the UK, about 100,000 tonnes of CO2, and of those, about 15,000 people wouldn't be able to get to work unless they shared a car. So we help quite a few people every day. How it works, you basically go onto Liftshare, you join for free, you search for a match, and you share. This is a quick example of someone going into, starting from London, going out to, I think this is a Tesco scheme, put in their journey and search, and you get more information about that journey and then email them. It's all very straightforward. And there are things like cost calculators that tell you how much you can save. And this is a typical one. This is, if your commuting journey is 16 miles, you save about £1,000 a year, roughly. So it's quite big savings. And right now that's helping a lot of people. This is just a screenshot of Norwich. Basically, we've got a member on every street in the country. So as long as you've got someone else living on your street, you'll probably have a Liftshare match. If you've got 100 cars driving past you, one of them will be a member. So as long as you hang around enough, you'll spot one of them. We're trying to get them all to have stickers and stuff in the windows. But lessons learned. These are kind of lessons learned and quotes I've picked up over the last year. Our focus right now, strategically, is getting our basics right. We got so caught up in hype and stuff that we forgot about the basics. So the basics in terms of having the right team and the right strategy and stuff, that's where we're focusing now. Employ good people. I love the, it's not my quote, but you can't polish a turd. I just think it's a brilliant quote. Get the right people and trust them to be wonderful. Resourcefulness, not resources. We've never had enough resources to do what we need to do. We've always had to punch above our weight. So we have to be very resourceful and strategic. And just, especially in days of social media, the whole wow thing, people don't shout about you unless you're amazingly good or slightly bad. If you're slightly bad or really bad, they tell people. They don't tell you if you're good or average. You have to be really good, so find ways to surprise and delight people, and it works. It also really energises a team when they have people writing and saying, wow, which is good. And I love the quote at the bottom as well about the only thing that makes a difference is taking someone with you. It's really true. For a while, we kind of went off on our own, and now we see ourselves much more as a catalyst to help other people do similar things, and that's brilliant. And so why things like this are brilliant, because it's all about learning. The future, how long have I been? Got a few minutes. This is just kind of where I'm at in my head. We can't keep consuming as much as we're doing as a race. We are struggling population. Peak oil is really going to start hurting. I think fuel prices will probably be nearer £2 at the end of the year than £1.50. CO2 is a big problem. And food supply, look at the drought that we're having this year. It may be a coincidence, but it's going to get people thinking properly. 3 options we have as a human race. We can reduce the population, which isn't going to be very popular. We can do less or we can use less. We don't like doing less because we're people and we like achieving more, so we have to use less. And the easiest ways to do that are use more efficient goods, waste less, recycle more, and share more. And I think there's been a lot of focus on the top 3, and the whole sharing more is coming in quite fast now. And I think we really need to move away from the whole idea of GDP being social, financial gain and across to social gain, because if you do those things, you can have a wonderfully happy life and not necessarily earn as much, but feel much happy with things. So that's what it's all about for us. And where do I think things are going? It's interesting actually looking back at the slide from a couple of years ago, a similar talk. I had to cross off loads of things because they already got there. Things are moving so fast forward now. It's not just open source software anymore, it's open source over everything. We're seeing a huge move away from employing people to outsourcing as much as you can to specialists, which is great for freelancers, but you've got to be really, really good at your job and shout loudly, which is hard. Getting to the point in the future, I think, where pretty much the only things you'll need to own is a mobile phone. You may want to own your house, but you won't necessarily need to. You'll be able to share a house, share a car, share everything, and it'll get much easier. And seeing not just databases in the cloud, but everything going to the cloud, and the whole idea of, on our new office, we're planning it won't have any boxes in it at all, it'll all be cloud-based, which is coming so quickly, it's unbelievable, and I feel we're already behind, even though we've got loads of IT people in the company. So we find it quite hard to keep up with that. So this is where it's going, just systems that just match everything together. That's where Liftshare is going. We're planning to keep doubling year on year, and we're on track to do that. Today, happily, we hit our last target of the year, so we had 3 really quite challenging targets this year, and we hit all 3, so I'm going to be buying the champagne tonight. And that's my boy, which is why I'm doing all this, because I want him to be happy. And if anyone knows any good developers, we need some, quickly. At least 1, maybe 2. So please, if you know anyone, shout. Because we've got lots of that. The project I've just talked about, Liftshare, there are 2 even bigger ones coming over the hill now, and we need help in making that all fly. And that's me. Thank you very much.